Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari. Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari. Om Vishnupada Paramahansa Paribraja Kacharashtu Tadasata Sri Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Nitalila Pravishta Om Vishnupada Paramahansa Paribraja Kacharashtu Tadasata Sri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Srila Prabhupada ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai Namacharya Haridas Thakur ki jai प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय मथुरा धाम की जय मायापुर नवद्वीप धाम की जय गंगा यमुना माई की भक्ति देवी तुलसी देवी की जय समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय ताय गौर प्रेमानंद। All glories to the assembled devotee. All glories to the assembled devotee. All glories to the assembled devotee. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga Alga Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Jiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudidayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloki Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. Srila Prabhupada Leela struggling alone. American people are not poor men like the Indians. If they appreciate a thing, they are prepared to spend any amount on such hobby. They are being exploited simply by jugglery words, bodily gymnastics. Still they are spending for that. But when they will have the actual commodity, feel pleasure by eating very delicious prasadam of Krishna Balarama, Balakrishna, I am sure a unique thing will be introduced in America. Now, according to his plan, he had a week left in America. My term to stay in America will be finished by 17th of November, 1965. But I am believing in your foretelling You should stay there until you fully recover your health. Return after you have completed your mission. Tagore Society of New York, Incorporated, cordially invites you to a lecture. God Consciousness by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. Date 28 November 1965. Time lecture 3:30 p.m. Tea 4:30 p.m. Place New India House, East 64th Street. Widely respected scholars and religious leaders in India. Swami Bhaktivedanta is briefly visiting New York. He has been engaged in monumental endeavor of translating 60 volumes of Srimad Bhagavatam from Sanskrit into English. November 28. Dowd Arun had never met Srila Prabhupada. He was a musician living downtown and used to attend the meeting of the Tagore Society up on 64th Street. Dowd Arun. I went uptown and walked into the auditorium, and I noticed that the stage was empty and a few people were sitting toward the rear of the auditorium. I walked forward down the center SL because I usually like to sit up front. Then I saw an old gentleman sitting over the right, and he sort of drew me over to him. So I went over and sat beside him. Then I noticed that he was saying his beads. Even though he had his beads in bag, I could hear them. I could see his body moving. I felt very comfortable because this was something I was used to. As I was sitting there looking around the auditorium, he just turned around and smiled at me very nicely. He nodded his head and nodded my head. I nodded my head. He smiled and turned around. Then he turned back to me again and softly asked me if I was from India. I said, "No, sir, I am not from India. I am from here, the United States." He turned back and he kept chanting with his beads. Then he turned around the next time, asked if I was a Hindu. I said, "No, sir, I am not a Hindu. I am a Muslim." He said, "Oh, very good, very good. Yes, many times I hear the children in India reciting the Quran." Then he turned back around and his body was moving, rocking, and he was working with his beads. Then there were a few more exchanges of pleasantries, sort of intermittent. And then lady came up on the stage and announced that the lecture was begin, and if the folk could give the speaker a round of applause, they would welcome him to the stage. At the point, the man I was sitting next to put his hand on my shoulder and said, "Excuse me, sir, could you do me a favor?" And I said, "Yes, anything." He said, "Would you watch over my books?" I looked down on the floor. He had several boxes of books and an umbrella and several other articles. I said, "Yes, I would watch over this." And he said, "Excuse me." He walked up hazel and surprisingly he walked up on the stage. It was the man I had come to hear, Swami Bhaktivedanta. He walked up on the stage, introduced himself to the people and tried to get them to come forward. He said, "Come forward, come forward." A few of them came up to the front. There were mixed couples, many Indians, male, female, mostly middle-aged and some college-aged. And lot of professor types and ladies were there. I just wanted to little explanation. Previously I was reading, right, about the chanting. This is very, very important. Chanting. We don't know, but there is so much significant carrying this bead bag. We hear the main point why we always holding the beads and chanting. Very, very significant. Just now we are hearing that Prabhupada was chanting the beads. The main understanding of this chanting, it is explaining just like a child in the womb of mother, protected, which is connected to the umbilical cord, to the mother's stomach. Whatever mother eats, that goes to the child. So this is explaining, very, very important is chanting, carrying the mala all the time. And all the time chanting. I don't know, this is what the Prabhupada introduced. I remember even in Hyderabad, Anandamaya Prabhu, he was a France devotee. When we are going outside for preaching, membership making or whatever, when he was walking, always chanting. This is the very, very important about chanting. Anyway, this is the point that is it's very much recommended to always carry the bead bag. Without bead bag, that is not proper. That is why we always even put to Prabhupada, deity, bead bag. Anyway, so this is the main point, understanding how important is always holding and chanting. Right, Radha? Embodical, that is explaining just like a child in the womb of mother, how it protected. Similarly, when you are chanting the Maya, Krishna protect from the Maya. That is the significance of chanting. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Okay, this is very important. Always carry the bead bag. So here we are reading. Then began his speech. He dove right into it. He just started explaining, proclaiming the greatness of Creator and that the most important thing is remember the Creator and remember God. He began to expand on God consciousness. What God consciousness is? and how God is everywhere, how it behooves us all to remember God, no matter what we call Him, what names we call Him by, but that we should call Him. He gave a demonstration which was very moving. He chanted Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, and spoke about the power and saving the grace in the mantra. He took a little break about halfway through and had the same water. Had some water. The last thing he said as he was coming down from the podium was that he had copies of Srimad Bhagavatam. He explained that he had been working on them and they came in 3 volumes and were $16. Then he concluded and came down. A lot of people went over to him. Some were timid, some were enthusiastic. Some people shook his hand and were asking for books. At first, there were about 15 people gathered around him, talking to him, asking questions. With so many people around, he came over to me and said, "Sir, would you do me one more favor? Will you kindly take over the selling of these books? People will be coming to you for these books, so you sell the books and put the money in this little box. And I will be with you in a minute." I said, "Fine." So, while he talked to the people, others came up to me. They must have thought I was some of his secretary or his traveling companion. People were coming over to me asking me personal questions about him, which I could not really answer because I did not know. Some people were buying the books or looking through them. So this went on, and I was trying to listen to him carry on his conversation with the people and carry on the book selling at the same time. Some of the people were looking for a guru, trying to find out what he was supposed to be. Some of them were really interrogating him, but he must smile and answered all their questions simply. I remember he told them, "You will know there is no pressure. You will know if I am your guru." He suggested that people go over and read these books. Then the group dwindled down to about half dozen, and the few remaining were just looking at him, and some were too timid to approach him. He walked over to them and spoke to them, putting them at ease. Later he came over. We counted the collection, and I helped him back up his box, carried downstairs the boxes of books that were left. As we parted, he thanked me very much, and I gave him my name and address and phone number and purchased a set of Srimad Bhagavatam. Chapter 4. The title is, "It Will Not Be Possible to Assist You." I have come here in this old age neither for sightseeing nor for any personal interest. It is for the interest of the entire humanity that I am trying to implement the science of Krishna, which will actually make them happy. So it is the duty of every devotee of Lord Krishna to help me by all means. This is a Prabhupada wrote letter to Srimati Maharaj. November passed and December came. And Prabhupada, having obtained an extension on his visa, stayed on. America seemed to be opulent, yet many things were difficult to tolerate. The sirens and bells from the fire engine and police cars seemed like they would crack his heart. Sometime at night, he would hear a person being attacked and crying for help. From his first days in the city, he had noted that the smell of a dog stool was everywhere. And although it was such a rich city, he could rarely find a mango to purchase. Anyway, Prabhupada talks about the dog. Dog is very, very, what you call, very dirty. Prabhupada says that dog stool is very, very, I don't know what you call. You get diphtheria because of the dog stool. Anyway, what I try to say, Prabhupada talks about the dog. Dog is very untouchable. This is nicely discussed many times, Prabhupada, in different places. Also, Prabhupada also glorifying the dog. What is that? Radhajivan, you know? Now, dog is very faithful to the master. So this is also very important. Prabhupada says, dog is very faithful to the master. Anyway, we are discussing about the dog here. That is, I just told this point. From his first days in the city, he had noted that the smell of a dog stool was everywhere. And although it was such a rich city, he could rarely find a mango to purchase. If he did, it was very expensive, usually had no taste. From his room, he would sometimes hear the horn of the ocean liner. He would dream that someday he would sail around the world with the Sankirtan party. Hari Bol! So Prabhupada, it is explaining, he was dreaming that he will travel around the world with the Sankirtan party. Preaching in all major cities of the world. The weather went below freezing, colder than he had ever experienced in India. Daily he had to walk toward the Hudson against a west wind that even on an ordinary winter's day would take your breath away, make your eyes water and your face grow numb. On a stormy day, the driving wind, sudden gusts, could even knock a man down. Sometimes a cold rain could turn the street slick with ice. The cold would become especially severe as one approached the shelterless, wind-swept area of the West Side Drive, where occasional whirlwind carried brown leaves and paper thrash mysteriously high into the air. Srila Prabhupada wore a coat Dr. Misra had given him, but he never gave up wearing his dhoti despite the cold, windy walks. Swami Nikhilananda of Ramakrishna Mission advised Prabhupada that if he wanted to stay in the West, he should abandon his traditional Indian dress and strict vegetarianism. Meat eating and liquor, as well as pants and coat, were almost a necessity in this climate. He had said, before Prabhupada left India, one of his god brothers had demonstrated to him how he should eat in the West with a knife and fork. But Prabhupada never considered taking on Western ways. His advisors cautioned him not to remain an alien but to get into the spirit of American life. Even if it meant breaking vow he had held in India. Almost all Indian immigrants compromised their old ways, but Prabhupada's idea was different. He could not budge it. The other may have had no compromise. He taught, but they had come to beg technological knowledge from the West. I have not come to beg something, he said, but to give something. In his solitary wandering, Srila Prabhupada made acquaintances with a number of local people. There was Mr. Reuben, a Turkish Jew who worked in New York City subway conductor. Mr. Reuben and met Prabhupada on the park bench, and being sociable fellow and world traveler, sat and talked with the Indian holy man. Mr. Reuben is explaining. He seemed to know that he would have temples filled up with the devotees. He would look out and say, I am not a poor man, I am rich. There were temples and books. They are existing. They are there. But the time is separating us from them. He always mentioned we. You have to listen nicely, okay? He always mentioned we and spoke about the one who sent him, a spiritual master. I just wanted to say, that's what my practice is going on, say, every day. Very important, it is a great science. I'm just talking about a we. You can see in my drive, every day I hear 5 lectures and every day noting down. I am coming to the point. I, that is also I. You, we. This is, I am studying about this. I am coming to the more understanding. Here, the point here he says, he always we. I always observe also, why Prabhupada is telling we? We want to have Every time I note down we is, what is that we? I mean that is Prabhupada, I is the liberated soul, I. When you say I, you are the body. But Prabhupada is the Acharya, liberated Golokavasi, I. This is very important. When Prabhupada speaks I, not this body. Anyway, so we here, the word is very, very important. Long back also, when I was in Jude, I was asking to some devotees, why Prabhupada telling we? Why he doesn't say I? Anyway, so here the point here I would like to say about we. He always mentioned we and spoke about the one who sent him, a spiritual master. He did not know people at the time, but he said, I am never alone. It came, see. I am never alone. Who saying? Not a conditioned soul saying. Liberated Acharya, liberated Guru. Empowered incarnation, Srila Prabhupada. Shaktavesh Avatara. Prabhupada telling, I am never alone. He always looked like a lonely man to me. That's what made me think of him like a holy man. Elijah, who always went out alone. I don't believe he had any followers. This was speaking by Reuben. When the weather was not rainy or icy, Prabhupada would catch the bus to Grand Central Station, visit the Central Library on 42nd Street. His Srimad Bhagavatam were there. Some of the same volumes he had sold to US Embassy in New Delhi. He took pleasure in seeing them listed in the catalog and learning that they were being regularly checked out and read. He would sometimes walk through UN Plaza or walk up to the New India House on 64th Street, where he had met Mr. Malhotra, a consulate officer. It was through Mr. Malhotra that he had contacted the Tagore Society, had secured an invitation to lecture before one of their meetings back in November. Riding the bus down Fifth Avenue, he would look out at the building and imagine that someday they could be used in Krishna consciousness. He could take a special interest in certain buildings. One on 23rd Street, one with a dome on 14th Street attracted his attention. He would think of how a materialist had constructed such elaborate buildings, had yet made no provisions for spiritual life. Despite all the great achievements of the technology, the people felt empty and useless. They had built these great buildings, but the children were going to LSD. What is the full form of LSD? Anybody knows? Pandit Lok, LSD. What is the full form? I also don't know. Children were going to LSD. December 2. New York Times headlines. New York City hospitals reported marked rise in LSD cases admitted for care. Protest against US participation in Vietnam War mounts. The weather grew cold. There was no snow in December. On Columbus Avenue, shops were selling Christian trees, and the continental restaurants were bright with holiday lighting. 72nd Retailer Association erected tall red poles topped with green tinsel Christmas trees. The tops of the trees on both sides of the street sprouted tinsel garlands and spanned the street, joined in red tinsel stars, surrounded by colored lights. Although Srila Prabhupada did know Christmas shopping, he visited many bookstores, Orientalia, Chambisher, Doubleday, Paragon, and other trying to sell the Srimad Bhagavatam. Mrs. Fibber, the wife of the Paragon Book Gallery proprietor, considered Prabhupada a pleasant and extremely polite small gentleman. The first time he called, she wasn't interested in his books. But he tried again, and she took several volumes of. Prabhupada used to stop by about once a week, and since his books were selling regularly, he would collect. Sometime when he needed copies to sell personally, he would come by, pick them up from Mrs. Fibber, and sometime he would phone to ask her how his books were selling. Mrs. Fibber, every time he came, he would ask for the glass of water. If a customer would make such a request, I would ordinarily say, there is the water cooler. But because he was an old man, I couldn't tell him that. Of course, he was very polite always, very modest, and a great scholar. So whenever he would ask, I would fetch him a cup of water personally. Once Prabhupada was talking with Mrs. Fibberer about Indian cuisine. She mentioned that she especially liked samosas. The next time he paid her a visit, he brought a tray of samosa, which she enjoyed. Arvind Cohen came often to room 501 to visit the Swami, who had so impressed him at Ananda Ashram. Harvey Cohen is telling Harvey, the room he occupied was tiny office in the back of the Yoga Society in uptown Manhattan. I began to go there regularly. We sat facing each other on the floor in this little office with his typewriter and new tape recorder on the top of the two suitcases. And there was a box of books he had brought from India and colored reproduction dancing figures which he looked at often. I told Swami Bhaktivedanta that I was an artist. He asked me to please paint the picture of a dancer, which he explained was Lord Chaitanya and his disciples. The painting was called Sankirtana. Whenever I came to visit him, Swami would always be happy to see me. I told him about myself. We chanted Hare Krishna together in his room many nights that winter. I would get the train uptown from my apartment to go see him. January 11, 1966. Prime Minister Lal Bahadur Shastri died of a heart attack while visiting Russia. The Prime Minister had been personal acquaintance of Srila Prabhupada's in India and admirer of Srimad Bhagavatam translation. He had been scheduled to visit America, and Prabhupada had expected to obtain a personal sanction from him for the release of fund from India. His ultimately death was great upset in Srila Prabhupada's plan to purchase a building at 143 West 72nd Street. The realtors had shown him a building and he has already mentally designed interior for deity worship, distribution of prasadam. The money was to come from India and the Prime Minister Shastri was to give personal sanction for release of the funds, but suddenly that was all changed. January 14, Prabhupada decided to write to the owner of the building, Mr. A.M. Artman. He explained how his plan had been upset. He posed a new plan. Now, the Prime Minister, Mr. Lal Bahadur Shastri, is suddenly dead, and I am greatly perplexed. There is now great difficulty for getting money from India. I am requesting you to allow me to use the place for the International Institution for God Consciousness, at least for some time. The house is lying vacant for so many days without any use. And I learn it that you are paying the taxes, insurance, other charges for the house, although you have no income from there. If you, however, allow this place for its public institution, you shall at least save the taxes and other charges which you are paying now for nothing. If I can start the institution immediately, certainly I shall be able to get sympathy locally. And in that case, I may not be required to get money from India. I am also requesting that Your Honor become one of the director of the public institution, because you will give the place to start this institution. A.M. Artman wasn't interested. On the same day, he wrote Mr. Artman, Prabhupada received a letter from Padamapat Singhania, the director of the very large JK organization in India. Prabhupada had written, Sir, Padmapataji for financial support. His reply gave him hope. Not only was the Singhania family fabulously wealthy, but its members were devotees of Lord Krishna. My dear Swamiji, I have gone through your letter. I am very glad to know your idea of erecting Sri Radha Krishna temple in New York. I think the proposal is good one, but the following are difficulties. We have got to send a foreign exchange for building the temple, for which government sanction is required. Without the government sanction, no money can be sent abroad. If the government of India agrees, then one can think of erecting the temple in New York. Second one, I doubt whether with the small amount of rupees 7 lakhs, that is $110,000, the 7 lakhs, a temple can be built in New York. I mean, to carry out a nice construction and Indian type of architecture. To get a temple completed in Indian type of architecture, we have to send a man from India. These are the two main difficulties. Otherwise, your idea is very good. Srila Prabhupada and Mr. Singhania had a basic disagreement. A magnificent Indian temple in New York would cost many millions of dollars to construct. Prabhupada knew, of course, that if Padmapat Singhania wanted, he could provide millions of dollars. But then how could they get so much money out of India? Prabhupada therefore again suggested that they spend only 7 lakhs. After purchasing the house, he wrote, we can build another story upon it with the temple dome, chakra, etc. Prabhupada had his own line of reasoning. Lord Dwarkadish exhibited his opulence at Dwarka with 16,000 queens, and it is understood that he built a palace for each and every queen. And the palaces were made with jewels and stones so that there were no necessity for artificial light in the palaces. So, your conception of building temple for Lord Krishna is opulence, but we are residents of Vrindavan. And Vrindavan has no palaces like your Dwarka. Vrindavan is full of forest and cows and the bank of Yamuna. Lord Krishna in his childhood played the part of the coward boy without any royal opulence as you people. The inhabitants of Dwarka are accustomed. So when the Dwarka Valas meet the Vrindavan Valas, there may be a via media. With Sir Padampata's Dwarka-like wealth and Srila Prabhupada Vrindavan-like devotion. Lord Krishna, the Lord of both Vrindavan and Dwarka, could be properly worshipped. January 21, he received Bon Maharaj's reply 2 weeks before Prabhupada had written to his godbrothers, the director of the Institution of Oriental Philosophy in Vrindavan, that he had found a place for a temple in New York, that he wanted to install the deity Radha Krishna. In his reply, Bon Maharaj quoted prices estimate the 14 inches brass deities, Radha Krishna. But he also warned that to begin deity worship would be very heavy responsibility. Srila Prabhupada responded, I think that after the temple has started, some men even from America may available. As I see, they have at Ramakrishna Mission as well as in so many yoga society. So I am trying to open a temple and here before Srila Prabhupada, Bhakti Siddhanta wanted it. Prabhupada also requested Bon Maharaj's assistant in getting the government to sanction the release of money he felt Padmapat Singhania would donate. He mentioned that he had carried an extensive personal correspondence with the Vice President of India, Radha Krishnan, who was also known to Bon Maharaj. Tell him that it is not ordinary temple of worship, but an international institution for God consciousness based on Srimad Bhagavatam. Anyway, so this is a wonderful Prabhupada Leelamrita. We should be very thankful to Satsvarup Das Goswami He has written in very, very detail in every aspect of, Prabhupada's Leelamrita. This is the volume 2, Hare Krishna. Bolo Maha Maha Patitapan Srila Prabhupada ki.
Maharaj, I have 3 questions.
Yeah.
The first question is, there is an incidence where Prabhupada is mentioning, temples are there, we are there, devotees are coming, and when time is separating. What is the significance? What is the significance of this incidence? What is the significance of this incidence? First question. Second question is, what is the difference between Srila Prabhupada and previous acharyas? Number 2 question. Number 3, as per you, what is the significant incident in Srila Prabhupada's life?
What is the significant?
Significant incident, as per you, as per your thought. What is the significant incident in Srila Prabhupada's life?
Of course, that one I don't know. I was completely ignorant. I was like I don't know anything about Prabhupada.
You have read so many times Prabhupada Leelamrita. As per you, what is significant? You can tell that. What is
not like a personal incident I'm talking. Not about that, right?
No.
Okay. You're telling about, I was reading Prabhupada's Leelamrita.
Prabhupada Leelamrita,
Right,
when you are
right.
reading,
Right.
what do you feel as per your, in Srila Prabhupada's life, this is very significant as per you. What is that? We want to know your heart. This is one question, remaining 2 questions.
It's very difficult to understand Prabhupada actually. Is Acharya Vaishnavena Kriya Mudra. So we cannot anything see it as a materially vision. Prabhupada is completely transcendental, divine, People were asking Prabhupada, what is the history of this ISKCON? Just Prabhupada telling that the scholars and scientists, they can figure it out. So what I try to say that Prabhupada is Prabhupada, transcendental. Like Krishna. Who can understand Krishna? Krishna is unlimited. Similarly, the Guru Tattva, Srila Prabhupada also unlimited understanding. This is I'm trying to explain about third question. Second question was?
No. See, I'm not asking about what is the significant. I'm saying, as per you, what is the significant incident?
No, that's
as
what
per
I'm
you,
trying to say. About Prabhupada, completely transcendental.
Okay. What is the difference between Srila Prabhupada and previous acharyas?
I don't understand what is meaning. Acharya is Acharya, Parampara, like coming from the line of Guru Parampara.
What is the third question is, what is significance of the incident that was narrated? Temples are there, devotees are there, books are there, time is separating. What is significance of that? Why it has been narrated? Why it has been narrated in the book?
I didn't follow. Why?
Why it is narrated? Narrated. Satsvarup Das Goswami Maharaj has put that. What is the significance of that incident? What to learn from that? क्या सीखना है?
Prabhupada, he has that vision. See, Prabhupada is Trikalagna. He knows past, present, future, what is going to happen. So that's what he was telling, that only time is separating. Books are there, devotees are there, everything is there. That's what Prabhupada was telling. So, because Prabhupada knows. You know. In another words, I would like to say that everything arrangement of Krishna. Without Krishna's arrangement, this is not going to happen. Krishna Shakti Vina Naitara Pravartana. A pure devotee of the Lord, completely under the control of Krishna. Prabhupada says, who knows that I go to America? Who knows about these boys and girls comes to me? Who knows? Everything Krishna's arrangement. You know. All we have to surrender. That's all. Surrender to Guru and Krishna, then everything will come, everything happens. Anything like it, even I am reading, according to my mentality, I can say so many things, but today you observe me, I am just stick to the point. I just read it, and 1 or 2 points I discussed. So what I'm trying to say, it all depends on your mentality, according to your surrender. In another, how much you are in Krishna conscious. That is the main point. If you are Krishna conscious, everything goes smoothly. If you are not Krishna conscious, everything goes upside down. So this is we have to learn as a devotee. We should always depend on Krishna and Guru, not your own brain. Doesn't work. Hare Krishna. Bolo Sri Sri Gaur Nitai ki, Radha Madanmohanji ki, Sitaram Lakshman ki.